Some of you might have seen Fox News playing up the propaganda about an impeachment of Joe Biden or somebody else currently in power. Due to Republican resentment over Donald Trump being impeached 2 times by both sides of the political spectrum allowing it, from January 2021 to January 2023, we have a listing of Republicans submitting 9 resolutions to impeach Joe Biden. You don't remember any of them. The reason is that over half were just Marjorie Taylor Greene squeaking a demand out. Many had no co-sponsor. Nobody wanted to help her. None had more than 6 co-sponsors, but that's not enough to actually get it through. And taken together, they have no consensus as to what offense Biden committed. They just want him removed. There are things that are brought up every once in a while. Handling of illegal border immigration, which, again, if you actually look it up, isn't something he can be impeached over. It's not a high crime or misdemeanor. It's just him doing his job based on what he had to deal with at the time. This is an easy interpretation, but you can decide you don't like it, but you can't get him impeached over it. Withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. Well, it was a cluster F. Yeah, okay, but again, it's not an impeachable offense. There are others that were as bad. I don't know if anybody remembers Vietnam. And every other incident where we've made a retreat. That's what it's called. The energy policy. Why would that be an issue? Hunter Biden. His son being an asset doing stupid shit isn't something you can impeach him for. And then finally, the Ukraine conspiracy theory allegations that, if you spend even a few minutes looking them up, have so many holes in them and a deliberate lack of evidence. Not offering evidence means you don't have any. And again, let's just bring up Giuliani and the other people coking up a conspiracy about Hunter Biden's laptop. Again, there isn't any chain of evidence. They tampered with it and it's easily detected. It's poisoned fruit. And more importantly, the original source of it refuses to offer enough evidence to show that he really received it from Hunter Biden. And again, I don't care if anybody likes that. It could have still been his laptop, but you'd have to prove there was something bad on it. And except for the stuff that's been faked and has been found to be faked, there isn't any data there that would point to Biden committing a crime. And again, this is basically a tit for tat because Donald Trump was impeached twice. They were failed impeachments. The federal COVID-19 eviction moratorium extension, making people not become homeless due to COVID-19, was something people wanted to punish him for. That just says more about how shitty Republicans are sometimes. Joe Biden's classified document incident. Okay, we're going to compare president to president. The claim is, well, what about Joe Biden? 30 or 25 classified government documents. Now, the thing is, at the time they were classified or not, at the time was he supposed to turn them over? These are arguments you can have, and it's perfectly acceptable. But it's 30 or 25 classified documents out of a group of, what is the number? Well, that's why it's 30 or 25. This is a couple of dozen, maybe 3 dozen files. This is from his time in the Senate and during his vice presidency. Remember, there are many layers for securing a file. And these were found from 2022 to 2023 by his attorneys at his personal residence in Wilmington, Delaware, and his former office in the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C. That's where they were found. Were they secured? Okay, if you're going to compare this to Donald Trump, you're going to have to do Donald Trump's house. You're not allowed to do anything else, but let's talk about it. When a person leaves the presidency, they're legally compelled that everything they agreed to and every law they had to follow as president, they have to do it while they're not president. Because they have access to information and it's in their head that is legally restricted in so many ways that it is permanent. Okay? What did he do? That's 30 or 25 documents. They could be in multiple folders or just one folder with all of them. It's very easily to misplace, and I'm sure that anybody who wants to say something evil about him will do so. So we're going to do document for document. Let's say it's 30. Now let's make it 100. Just arbitrarily do that. There's a reason I'm picking up 100, because the Hillary Clinton email stack, if you look at the information she received, she had to receive it, not send it. She didn't show any signs of sending anything illegally, or at least not enough to actually count. There's about 100 documents in Hillary Clinton's email server scandal. So let's make it the same. Let's make it equivalent. And again, They weren't missing and deleted because they retrieved them. That's how they counted them. But let's say he's got 1/3 of a buttery mail listing, 1/3. At the end of Trump's term, he was found to overtly, we have documentation, steal 15 boxes of files from the White House, hide them on his property at Mar-a-Lago estate. 25 were found to be top secret. 92 were considered secret. 67 were considered confidential. The number is now 184 classified unique documents. Now, if you're going to argue whether or not Hillary Clinton had larger numbers or he did, you have to actually cite your sources. I'm actually citing the sources that the Republican Congress brought up. They had to admit that the number was a number. But again, these were things she received. She didn't send secured documents that were secured at the time. They either were not clearly marked, and, by the way, they were also not considered secure at the time. Some of them were actually just news clippings. But they weren't allowed to talk about them because it was considered inappropriate. But it was a news clipping in some cases. Hillary did not send or receive content willingly that caused this. And this is information on a server that there was a backup found for. She didn't succeed in erasing things. She's not guilty of destroying evidence. She was told to erase this stuff. Whether you like hearing that doesn't change anything. Let's move on. So Donald Trump, in the first fucking offense here, is 184 classified unique documents. Some of them were also Special Access Programs, SAP. That's equivalent to eyes-only protocol, reserved for extremely sensitive U.S. operations conducted abroad. This is the most secure stuff, or nearly the most secure. In the first return of files, he said he had no more of them. He was lying, because he says now, well, if I lied, I own them. I don't have to return them. His lawyers also claimed that he kept everything in a basement storage room that was locked. That's not what happened either. After 3 raids and or searches, they found boxes of press clippings, clothing, magazines, and mementos from being president, self-aggrandizing himself, mixed in with confidential, secret, top secret, other types of documents, with some being legally restricted to only be read or kept at a secured government facility and explicitly saying so on them. He was well aware that taking them from anywhere, especially his house, taking it to his house, was a federal offense with a 10-year prison sentence or something like that attached to each page. Under top secret, sensitive, compartmented information, TS SCI, Trump had taken 21,792 pages, or 1,300 documents. Interrelated or not, that causes it to be a round number but it's 13,000 documents. Biden, 30 documents, him, 13,000 documents. Hillary Clinton, no, I'm not going to let you get away with lying about the goddamn number, was 100 max of real shit that she had to really be restricted on, because it wasn't marked as restricted. And again, she received it from other people who are the ones who committed the felony. And they've already talked it down to a slap on the wrist because they were politicians. Her email server, well, it wasn't secured, blah, blah, blah. She didn't send illegal content. If you receive an email containing a federally controlled, licensed, restricted something document, are you guilty of, quote-unquote, distributing it? No, you received it. It's your inbox. Dozens of folders also carried classified markings, but Donald Trump didn't hand them over. They found them, and they found out they were empty. And they've also determined since then that their content is missing. And he had people come and visit and look at stuff. They have witnesses, some of them famous, saying, yeah, he showed them off. And there was talk, and I don't care if you like it, of him just selling documents. And he didn't care who to. Trump also illegally shredded sensitive and mundane paper while in the White House as president at Mar-a-Lago and on the Air Force One aircraft. And there are witnesses to it that now are compelled to testify because covering for him equals prison time. And he always does this thing, well, when I'm president, I'll make sure you get a pardon. That's not going to work anymore because it isn't working. The number of pardons he was asked for and that he promised and the number he gave out was a very, very different number. He doesn't follow through on this, and he throws people under the bus immediately. Conclusion, if you're watching the video and give a shit. They're both guilty. All of them are guilty of mishandling of documents. The reason Donald Trump is being prosecuted so severely is he rewrote the law in an effort to try to retroactively throw Hillary Clinton in prison because of her screwing up something really, really stupidly. She shouldn't have done it, but she was only guilty, if you push it, of 100 documents. Virtually all of them are ones she received from other people who are actually legally guilty and have been charged and have pled guilty and kept it out of the papers. Hundreds and hundreds of people sending her emails and forgetting I'm sending it to her server. I'm not supposed to send her anything that's secured. It's not her committing a crime. It's them being stupid. There's even, I saw one email only, but she did actually admonish one of them. Don't send me something that's secured. This looks like it should be. The rest of the stuff was simply not marked. It was retroactively declared secured or secret or classified. And by the way, unclassified is also considered a classification, but they didn't include that. I went through this myself. So did Congress. Next, again, every single attempt by the Republicans to find something to throw Biden in prison for has shown up that they don't have any evidence. I mean, not enough. No, none. And trying to connect it to Biden's son results in you find out Hunter Biden should be prosecuted. Go ahead and do so. They don't, because then you'd have to take it to a DA and say, I want you to prosecute this guy. You claim that there's some sort of influence going on. I wouldn't doubt it. But there isn't enough there when you actually look at it to prosecute him. And bringing up a conspiracy theory that was created about Ukraine that very much benefited the Russian government and very much is likely to have been faked entirely doesn't count. It's just as dirty as the things people claim were coked up about Trump. It's, if you want to do equivalency, we're there. Same thing about coking up stuff about Trump's son. The point is, we're going to call it 30 documents because that's the maximum number people keep quoting. And they're not really all classified. They just fall under classified, should be, or could have been with Joe Biden. Versus, again, we're going to read this 13,000 documents as 21,792 pages. That's a little bit too precise to be rounding it off. And that's after beating on him repeatedly after he lied about having more documents. And his lawyers essentially said something that wasn't true. I'm not going to say they were lying. About it all being locked up securely in a basement. It wasn't. It was in his fucking bathroom. Next to the shower getting damaged every time he took a shower. Ugh. And again, they found 25 top secret, 92 secret, and 67 confidential out of 184 classified unique documents in the original voluntary turnover where he refused to do it. And he explicitly tells people to their faces and on camera, and has done this as his testimony, that as a president he had the right to simply take it when it's explicitly against the law for him to do so. He is not allowed to declassify something so that he can claim ownership of it. That is simply not legal. It is not a debatable point. It would have to be done by someone else for the same reason that if I left a secure location, I would have to be checked out by somebody else, because if I just said I'm going to declassify this and walk out with it, that's a self-serving behavior that is regulated. It's not like somebody couldn't figure that out in the first place. And again, on the day he left, on the days he left, you could see him hauling out boxes of papers. And those were actually the content that he shouldn't have taken. Trump is guilty of leaving the building with property that he wasn't supposed to have. That's theft. He refused to turn it over when he was ordered to by court order because it's not his property. He refused. That's illegal behavior. He is claiming now he owns it simply because he declared himself the owner of it. That doesn't make sense in any way. He doesn't own the paperwork. The most he could hope for is to declare that it wasn't classified at the time, but he would have to make note of it. And he secretly declassified something isn't acceptable or legal. It's not a thing. Versus 30 pages or 30 documents. No, Donald Trump is nothing like Biden or Hillary. He's at least 100 times worse. And by ratio, he should have already been put in front of a firing squad at this point. He smells like a Russian asset, and he tries to act like it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.